to part 3 of my giant Zion painting lesson video. This is my reference photo I've shown you guys before in my other videos. So the main theme of this video is going to be getting all of this white off of the canvas. So step number 1 was to draw the grid and sketch where everything's going to be. Step number 2 was to paint the sky, which is the farthest thing in the background. And step number 3 is going to be to just get the general color tone scheme for this painting and get all of this white off of this canvas. Okay, so I was very eager to open a new tube of burnt sienna brown paint, and that's what I'm using here. Burnt sienna mixed with white. Also in the shadows I have some alizarin crimson, which is a cool red, and raw umber, which is a darker, cooler brown. I'm mixing various shades of those colors I just mentioned to give the lights and the shadows you'll see in the rocks. Next, I started painting the large mountain in the foreground that is in the shadow. This mountain had a little bit more of a purpley hue to it, so I added some ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and burnt umber to my raw sienna. So I mixed those colors together, and that gave it a little bit more of a purple hue, and I think that really helped bring this mountain to the front of this piece. That extra color really pulled it forward. Next, I threw down a very thin layer of sap green with some browns and blues to give me the shadow vegetation up in that foreground. Then I continued working on the shadows in the creases of the rock in the mountain just behind the foreground. I then went back into my large mountain where Angel's Landing is and went back in with that burnt sienna, using more burnt sienna, less white, also using some mineral spirits to thin out the paint, and going back in with some color and filling in where the shadows belong and where more of a neutral tone belongs. There was a section there where it wasn't quite in full shadow, but it wasn't being touched by sunlight, and that's where that super reddish burnt sienna is in the center there. So a fun fact about me is that I'm actually a geologist in my other job, and I love rocks. I collect rocks. When I go to national parks, I love to look at all the rocks and just try to figure out what's going on there and how those rocks got to be there, why they look the way they do. So one of the reasons why I chose to paint this photograph that I took is because I loved how you could see the different stratigraphic units in the rock in Angel's Landing. All of the rocks at Zion were pretty flat. That's why you can see the difference between the red and the white different layers in the rock. It's all sedimentary rock that got deposited and eroded away, and that's what I really liked capturing in my painting here. And it also adds so much depth to the rocks, and it really the way that the lights hit the rock changes based on what rock unit we're looking at. So I got really excited seeing all the geologic features, and I really wanted to capture that in this painting. And finally, I painted the base color for that desert sharp looking plant in the foreground. I'm gonna be starting with a very dark base color for that plant, and then detailing it with lighter colors, and then maybe making some more shadows in there to have a nice strong contrast. I also darkened the rock in the foreground because it's in the shadow, and I touched up a couple other little shadows in my painting.